Welcome, everyone, to another episode of This Crap Was on National Television, and boy, did we come up with some crap. My name is Kirk Buchner. I run NotInHallOfFame.com, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. Vote on that right now, www.NotInHallOfFame.com/USA. And I am joined by my co-host, Chris Bournea. How you doing?
Hey, Kirk. Hello, everyone.
We kind of got inspired from syndication last time.
Yes.
Which was a show that we both talked about, but I've never seen an episode until this.
Yeah, I'd seen bits and pieces, but I'd never seen an entire episode.
I'm fascinated by that era of television, when almost everyone then had cable, or they're starting to get cable. I mean, I remember Who's the Boss episode where Angela didn't have cable, so the guy in the limo took somebody there, said, "No, I'm just going to stay in the limo." How did Angela not be able to afford cable? But anyway,
right.
I think even an early Simpsons episode involved that,
about someone not having cable.
Yeah, Homer got free cable somehow. So it was a completely different time, where you've got more channels popping up, but they've got to come up with content.
Yes.
And so the syndication was basically the shows that the networks wouldn't pick up because they weren't either good enough or they couldn't get enough eyeballs, which is really what it all came down to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, how is Star Trek not always in syndication, the Next Generation? No, it doesn't matter. That's for another time. So you get a lot of awful shows that come up, but this one, unlike the one we did last time, which was Learning the Ropes, this was a hit.
Yeah, it was a hit, but I read that it's considered one of the worst sitcoms in television history. Even though it was technically, it got ratings, it was just critically trashed.
And it should be, because it was trashed. Yeah. But this was also an international hit. This was syndicated everywhere.
Yeah, even in like Arabic-speaking countries.
Well, I'm sure in those countries they enjoyed the idea of a female as property.
Okay, I send letters to Kirk for that one.
I'm not all that concerned. I'm over because I don't think we're very big in the UAE.
Okay, that's probably true.
Belgium maybe, but not the UAE. So let's just get right into this. So this was 1985. So starring a bunch of people that I never saw in anything else.
Yes.
Although we are going to come up with somebody later who we do have a repeat offender, and you'll never guess who, and you'll never guess in a million years where you saw that person before.
Okay, now you've got me racking my brain.
You'll never get it. I feel that confident that if you get it, you win a mini Dashin. Although sometimes you can have her. Okay, maybe not. So starring Dick Christie as Ted Lawson. And the opening bit there, I thought he's walking in the montage, he's walking out of, I guess, his office building, and he's having lunch outside, but he's got a paper bag, and I thought he had a bottle in there.
Yeah, it did look like that.
Yeah, clearly he's got no friends at the office because he has to eat by himself.
Right.
Uh, Starring Marla Pennington as Joan. I never heard of her either. And was it a rule that in the 80s the sitcom wives all had to be blonde?
Good point. Like with Joanna Kearns on Growing Pains.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And even Newhart, Julia Duffy. Well, after
Well,
his first sitcom, but Julia Duffy in the 80s.
yeah, Julie Duffy wasn't the wife, but the wife was also.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Joanna, what's her name? Yeah.
You know. I was just thinking about this as Joan. I think a lot of people got really lucky because Joan could have easily been a Karen.
Right.
That name could have easily been used for that.
Yeah.
Uh, Jerry Sirapan as Jamie Lawson, who actually this kid had some talent. I don't think he ever did anything after that, but they pretty much made him the star. Actually, I thought from this pilot.
Yeah.
And then Tiffany Brissett as Vicky, who apparently never acted after this. So good on her. She's probably the most well-adjusted person in this entire cast.
We hope.
We hope, yeah. Now, okay. Now, I did some. Here's a deep dive here. Emily Schulman as Harriet, which was the annoying kid with the bangs that just you can't not stop. Here's something for you. She's the only person to win an award for this.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
no, okay. So she won it was the 8th Youth in Film Awards. And let's see. I'll blow your mind here with the people she beat out. Okay, so she won. What is it? There we go. Exceptional performance by a young actress in a long-running series, comedy or drama, beating out someone from Knots Landing, the two other, I guess, the friends from Punky Brewster, the two teenagers from Give Me a Break, and a young actress who I don't think things went too well for her after, named Regina King.
My fellow Ohioan, Regina King, who's from Cincinnati.
Yeah, that I mean, that's something that I would think that I don't know what happened to Emily Schulman now, but she can probably say, you know what, I beat Regina King in an acting award.
Yeah. That's bragging rights right there.
Oh, absolutely. But listen to these other winners here too. So like back to back. Here are two people who will never be in the same room. The winner for exceptional performance by a young actor starring in a television comedy or drama series was Kirk Cameron. The young actress version is Alyssa Milano. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
they will not talk to each other right now.
oh no. Yeah,
uh,
you couldn't get more diametrically opposed
oh,
politically. Yeah.
it's this is also that threw me off though, because Alyssa Milano won that for exceptional performance, but unless maybe Wikipedia got this wrong, must have been supporting, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
it
the
had to be.
same
Yeah,
words of everything. But whatever. I mean, that's neither here nor there. Because if it's on Wikipedia, it must be true.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so our first scene, they're foreshadowing right away. Jamie comes home from school and he whines because he has no one to play with. I don't know about you, Chris, but I've never seen that problem in the suburbs.
Right.
Uh, and he whines that he wishes he had a brother or that he would even settle for a sister. Well, mom says one day you'll have one, and then he says, "That's what you keep saying, but I don't think you're working on it." Ew.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
There's a lot of a very weird double entendres that make no sense coming out of a kid.
Yeah. Well, not just coming from the kid, but the parents as well. It was like it
Oh.
was this weird tone. Like they were trying to be squeaky clean in like the vein of Leave It to Beaver, but
Mhm.
then they had all these innuendos. So it was like they were trying to be a little bit edgy, but still be like the family sitcom.
I think the writers were drunk. They just said, "Let's just we're gonna see what we can get away with." Or they just didn't care.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have network censors. I'm sure they had to answer to individual stations that wouldn't carry certain episodes if it had language that was too risque. But I wonder how that worked. If you don't have a network censor, like telling you can't say this or that, and you're syndicated. I wonder how that works.
That's a good question. But I don't remember like back then any kind of risque shows like that were syndicated.
Well, there was, not scripted shows, but Morton Downey Jr. I mean, how much more, and Geraldo, and so talk shows that were
Okay.
syndicated.
Okay, but I guess at that point, I mean, yeah, but it's also such a weird thing. I mean, it would be people calling up the station saying, "Get this off." Now, one person on Twitter can actually get something canceled.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, I guess it was just a different time. Maybe people didn't even think they could, or they didn't try that hard. Well, Harriet the Kid, the award-winning actress, just hysterical, knocks on the door. Jamie opens and then just slams the door on her. Says that she's nosy and a pill, and what a waste of womanhood. What? It's a little girl. What the hell are you saying? What? Well, instantaneously, like within 10 seconds, the dad comes home in the same door. Do you ever notice too in a lot of these sitcoms, everyone seems to enter in the kitchen?
Yeah, and the door is never locked. You never hear keys turning in the knob or any. It's just the door is always just unlocked. They live in the safest suburbs ever.
Mm-hmm. That must be in Canada.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I got another comment on our Beachcomber show how I'm not very Canadian, but anyway, but I am. Go figure that one out. People love you, Chris. It's me, not as much.
We're the good cop bad cop duo. Is that it?
Well, I said that we would make a great buddy cop film from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the dad comes home and he's all upset. He had a bad day at work and he says his boss wouldn't talk to him about a special project. Well, of course not. You should be doing your damn job. We're paid to do this. Well, Joan comes in and says, "Well, I know you're working so hard on it." Well, I guess, but he doesn't even know what it. She doesn't even know what the project is. She, like, great open relationship they have. He opens up the briefcase and it's doll parts. I'd be running for the door if I was Joan. This looked more like an SVU episode.
Yeah, it was creepy.
And no one's really creeped out by it. They should be, but they're not. So we learn right away he works for a robotics company, and he's working on this. It's called a VICI, a Vicky, a voice input child identicant, and apparently it was designed to help out handicapped kids or just like be an actual good thing for society. But it never did happen, did it?
Not that I know of. I thought she just was basically like a servant for the family.
Yeah, basically they built a server.
Yeah.
And here's the other things I was reading about because the show ran 4 years. So a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old don't look very much the same anymore. So apparently they said, well, he took her in for upgrades, which I guess involved puberty. I don't even want to think about it. The whole thing is just wrong on every level.
Well, also, it's like, why not think of that kind of stuff ahead of time? Like, did you not know child actors are going to age? Why not say, I built a human-like android that like ages, roughly at our same pace? Why, nobody would question that. It's sci-fi. So
Why not? Everything else is bullshit anyway. So what difference does it make? Yeah, so do that. Just come up with something less creepy. But there's more creepy stuff. And he asks his wife for permission to work on it on home, and she says yes, and because she knows what kind of doll that he's really working on. What?
Yeah, it's sort of innuendo.
God damn. Well, the next scene, these magical parts are somehow assembled, and he's working on, I guess, with this old computer. He's just typing in commands. Now, did he have to do this in the bedroom where Vicky's lying on not on the bed, I guess the bench before the bed, but come on, you can't do this in the garage.
Yeah, or a basement workshop or something. Yeah, why? Yeah, that was a little weird.
Like,
well, also, I mean, this is a low budget sitcom. So there's only so many sets that they have.
Well, do it in the kitchen then.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
There's something, just not in the bedroom.
Yeah, living room. I mean,
Yes, yeah, you had two other sets. Like, there's no reason to keep it a secret at this point. And so, anyway, so the magic of this computer that looked even bad for 1985. The commands all work, and then blink, she blinks. She comes up to pretty much comes into life, and then brings her downstairs. And the mother and son are freaked out for like 30 seconds. And here's a question that I want to ask you: why did they dress her this way?
that was a good question. I think they were trying to go for like Pippi Longstocking or
Okay.
the Wendy's logo. It's like they were trying to go for the classic like American Doll kind of look. The pinafore, I guess that's what you call it.
This again looks like something that you would dress up somebody if you kidnapped them and you just wanted a little girl. It's I wanted to check out and I haven't, and I'm not going to see if some of these writers have been arrested for other things, if you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're on the registry, but I'm not saying that they're not.
Right.
Right away, Jamie asks and gets permission to keep Vicky in his cabinet where he keeps other toys. And this guy, who's pretty much risking his job, the father, for all of this, says, "Yeah, okay. I just built something that could change the world, and yeah, you can have it. I just assembled
Right.
it. It's yours. Go ahead."
Right. Right.
I don't know. As he's trying to as he's trying to rationalize that this is just a toy, we've got Harriet peering through the window, and that's pretty much her shtick. She just looks through the window, and she's a nosy, annoying kid. Uh, Jamie says, "Go that way," to Vicky. Vicky walks into a door, and then it goes on the fritz. But he says all he's got to do is, if now I've got to take it apart. But Jamie fixes it by pretty much whacking it in the back, and says and he hears something. So I don't think this was filmed for in front of a live audience. So they're adding the canned laugh. But why did they add canned applause?
Yeah. Good point.
I, I I will say that is probably the most accurate thing of this show, because I know that in my old Betamax, I whacked that a million times to get that working, and sometimes it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of appliances I've done that too.
Right.
Can't
So,
always say that it worked, but
but that's
that's the default.
yeah, that is the most realistic thing that we've seen here.
Yeah.
We also learn. So then Ted says to his kid, "Just don't tell Harriet." And then, well, why would he tell Harriet? We've established that he can't stand her. And then we also learn that her dad is the boss, his boss.
Hmm.
I guess they appeared in later episodes. Apparently, a regular until she got cast in the Hogan Family was Edie McClurg.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I guess she would join the cast later and then leave it when she got a much better offer.
I always wondered what happened to her. She was really like one of the hottest character actors of the '80s, and then it just seemed like you
Mm-hmm.
never heard from her again.
Yeah, she was in two John Hughes films. Her and Ferris Bueller was just great.
Yeah, oh yeah, classic.
First time I ever saw her was in WKRP as Herb Tarlick's wife.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, if it's WKRP, I'm gonna remember.
Wow,
I,
wow.
I love that. That is the main reason why I watched such an awful show, Head of the Class, for years, because it was Dr.
Herb
Johnny
Hessman.
Fever. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Actually, there was sort of there were some parallels actually. Uh, Dan Schneider?
No, I don't.
Okay. He was the fat kid on that show.
On Head of the Class.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
I somehow through a YouTube rabbit hole, I saw somebody put together their own documentary about him because and what a pervert he was.
Ooh,
Yeah.
gross.
Well, it gets worse. So he actually became super successful producing shows for Nickelodeon.
Okay.
And so there was all these things about what a tyrant he is and about his creepy foot fetish.
Okay.
So he'd sort of find a way to work in all his child actors doing things with their feet.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah, so I kind of was getting very similar vibes from this. Just anyway. Yeah. Well, that took a dark turn, didn't it? All right. So here it's next morning. Jamie wakes up and he has her do. He's treating her like a servant. Do my chores. And he says that it's mom and dad's 11th anniversary. And then do you know what marriage is? Yeah, marriage is, and then the answer is marriage is when two people get married and have babies. Jamie asks Vicky, "Do you know how?" She says, "No." Jamie says, "I can't get that out of my dad either." What is this?
Right.
Oh my god! And then he's about to change, and he says he can't do it in front of a girl robot. Turn your head. Like again, what the hell is this? And then we
Right.
get the sight gag of turning her head like backward. You
Yeah.
knew that was going when he said turn your head, but I'm skeeved out. I am completely skeeved out by this. I'm sure you got the same vibes while watching this.
You mean creepy vibes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, anyway,
Well, maybe her turning her head was a homage to The Exorcist.
giving them way too much credit. Next scene's in the kitchen, and Harriet knocks on the door. And she wants to know who the weird girl is. After some stammering, they say it's the cousin. He slams the door on her again, and then the crowd applauds, or the fake crowd applauds. Like
Yeah.
another sight gag. We learn that Vicky is super strong, and next scene, Ted and Joan are in bed. She tries to snuggle, and he doesn't care, and he's guilt tripped, and then they're about to get intimate until Vicky walks in. And this is my only legit actual laugh is when she gives them breakfast because they were preparing breakfast and he gave her Jamie gave the command to give them breakfast, and so he just does. She tosses it. Okay, I knew it was coming, but it was done well.
Yeah. One of the few true laughs.
My only true laugh. Jasper agrees. That was his favorite part. You can follow Jasper on Jasper_the friendly corgi at Instagram. I might as well get his plug in because if that's what he's gonna do, we might as well. Jasper, what did you think of that show? Was it good? No, there you go. So here's then that got even stranger to me. So the next scene implies that Jamie's in trouble. Why is he in trouble? What did he do? He actually tried to do something nice for his parents, and you gave him this.
Right. Or you let him keep it in his closet.
Yeah, so if this one's not doing understanding things, it's your fault. You designed the damn thing.
Right.
So he's gonna, and then it gets even dumber. So he's gonna buy his way out because that's what entitled little kids do, I guess. So he's gonna get them a nice present, and so he breaks out a roll of money. His allowance must be pretty good, and he's going to the mall. Tells Vicky to stay there. Well, I guess Vicky didn't listen because Vicky shows up. I thought Vicky was commanded to do everything she was told to do. Look at me finding this plot hole. And she gets enamored with a display. Now the workers are now taking down a display in the middle of the hours.
Right.
Now this is where we have a repeat offender. The tall guy. I'm thinking I've seen this guy before. That guy's name is Mickey Morgan. And if you watched any show in the 70s or 80s, you probably saw him guest star in something.
Okay.
One of the episodes was WKRP. But here's where we've seen him. Do you want to take a guess?
What was the one about the alien, the NBC show with Lou Gossett Jr.?
That's a good guess, but no.
Okay. I know it couldn't have been the comedian and the pink ladies.
No, it wasn't that. Okay. I'll tell you what it is. Okay. I'm going to tell you the show and then see if you can guess. He was in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, wow. He was one of the Wookiees.
Yes.
Chewbacca.
He was the wife. He played Chewbacca's wife. Because I guess on the casting call, we need a 6 foot 6 guy or 6'6" person who's gonna just know his timing. Not a lot of them out there.
Wow.
Yeah, because he'd already been acting for apparently 10 years or so. He was in episodes of the Monkees. He was in an episode of the Wonder Woman in a gorilla costume.
Wow.
So
So
like,
he has the distinction of appearing in two of the worst TV shows of all time.
well, Wonder Woman.
The Star Wars holiday
Oh, okay,
special.
yeah, okay. So sorry, I
Yeah.
was thinking about Wonder Woman. Like, how dare you say that about Linda Carter?
I loved Wonder Woman.
Well, didn't we all?
Yeah. Although her cameo at the end of the most recent Wonder Woman movie didn't make any sense. If Wonder Woman doesn't age, how did Linda Carter how did she become Linda Carter's age? But we digress.
Was it supposed to be the same person? I don't know. That movie, I didn't like it, but anyway, I just knew she was in the end, but I forget why. Yeah, we do digress. We do that a lot. Usually, it's me. Uh, anyway, so another awful thing that this guy says. He picks her up and says, "Oh, it smells nice." That's the second time they commented on how she smells.
I missed the first one, but that one definitely struck me as like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's creepy.
Well, because the first one it was said by Jamie,
Okay, okay.
so it doesn't come off as creepy, I guess. But because it's a 10-year-old boy. But why is that's the pick her up and like smells not? Like, what do you know?
Yeah.
Do this. Give him no lines if that's the line you're giving him.
I guess if we're going to be generous, I guess it's like supposed to say that she's so lifelike that
Like,
she
then
smells
say
like a
that.
yeah, she smells like a real girl.
Or just like, oh, feels lifelike. That's all. You don't
Yeah.
have to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So puts him in the closet. Jamie's watching all this happen, and we've established already she's got superhuman strength. So he says, "Look, I don't know how we're gonna get you out of here." And then she just says, "I know." And then she just knocks down the door. And then they walk back. They skulk back into the house, but the parents are now awake, or maybe they're done what they were doing before. I don't know what they were about to do, and they're waiting for them in the kitchen. And he wants to like get mad at her, but before he can sort of discipline the kid, Harriet comes to the door and asks if Vicky can come out and play. Ted says no, but then Harriet says, "But I told my dad all about her. I guess we'll learn about this wonderful subplot in later episodes, but we won't because we're never watching any of this." Jamie goes to his room because I guess he's punished to get punished, and the mom says, "Well, you can't punish him now. Look, because they went there and got a present. So there you go. Here's a great message, kids. Emotional blackmail always wins."
Yes.
Of course, he was punished for no good reason anyway. But Jamie's all upset at Vicky, but he can't stay mad at Vicky. And another sight gag, Vicky comes out of the cabinet again. And end of the show. And who is this for? I was talking to someone about this, and did we just watch stuff because there was nothing else on?
Well, I didn't watch it. I mean, I definitely came across it at the time
Yeah.
because I was a big I was a big TV junkie,
Yeah.
and even back then in the '80s as a teenager, it definitely wasn't. It was designed for kids, not for teenagers.
Right.
And even just like the 5 minutes I would catch here and there was like, wow, this doesn't hold my attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a good question. I mean, like you said, it's like geared toward kids, but then it has all these innuendos in it. So yeah, who was it for?
5-year-olds and creepy people.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I can
that
think of.
that's apparently who made it a hit because it was a hit.
Everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere. This did well. I guess if that's your audience, you're now selling your Happy Meals. If you're the channel, toys, stuff like that. So I'm sure you're I'm sure it made a lot of money for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, mainly the producers and the syndicators, not I'm sure not the actors.
No, no, and none of these actors, let's be blunt, were any good.
Yeah, I read an interview with the wife, and she said that you know, it was fine. It wasn't her best work, but she thought it was fine. You know, it was fun and it
Mhm.
was harmless. So that was the way she kind of looked at it. But she ended up leaving. She said she ended up leaving the industry after this
Mhm.
show and just decided to have like I don't think she had kids when she wasn't married or and didn't have kids when she was making the show, but she decided to have a family of her own after making the show and just leave the industry.
I would think this would make her not want to have a family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh, I always end this by asking, whose fault is this? I, 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 I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. Whose fault is this?
I think I have the name of the creators right. The creator of the show is Howard Leeds. Did you
Okay.
read this was actually a remake of a 60s sitcom?
No, I didn't. I didn't catch
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it was
Okay.
a remake of a 60s sitcom called My Living Doll about an adult robot played by Julie Newmar of Catwoman fame. That only ran for one season, and for some reason, 20 years later, Howard Leeds thought, "Let me remake this failed sitcom, but instead of a adult woman robot, I'll make it a child robot, a girl robot." So it's clearly his fault, but it worked, and it just goes to show if you have a failed idea, just kind of revamp it, and it could become an international hit.
So here's a throwback. I learned from someone too that apparently Will Ferrell bought the rights to do Manimal and make it a movie at some point.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it's like a little throwback to one that we sort of looked at.
wow,
That could have been interesting
yeah.
to see what he would have
Or
done with that idea.
yeah, or it could have went the way of Magoober.
MacGruber, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I tried to watch that one. I got 10 minutes in and I gave up.
10 minutes further than I got.
Oh God, yeah, I believe cameos from five pro wrestlers, and they showed up on Monday Night Raw once. The
Oh
McGruber
wow,
dressed up as in their McGruber fits.
wow,
So it's sort of interesting watching Kristen Wiig in her character interact with the wrestlers.
right,
Yeah, that was a weird time in WWE when they had a bunch of that happen. They'd bring out a special guest host, and sometimes, well, more often than not, it was really, really bad.
right.
Especially if you got who was one of them? Al Sharpton was one, I think.
Oh wow, that doesn't surprise me.
And he was just there plugging a book. He clearly had no idea who anybody was.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get Bob Barker, who just had a blast, and everyone
Right.
loved him. He just had the time of his life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the right attitude you have to do those kind of things with.
And this is a great segue because on when Bob Barker was doing that, he beat up Chavo Guerrero, whose dad I wrote a book about.
An excellent book.
Yes, thank you. Chavo Guerrero Instant Classic. You can get that on Amazon. But if you're going to buy that, I think Chris has got something else you should take a look at.
Yes. So please, if you're interested in wrestling and the history of wrestling, check out Lady Wrestler, a documentary that I made about the Black women who integrated pro wrestling back in the 50s.
And it's not just about wrestling. That's a true story of perseverance. You don't even, it's one of those rare things, Chris, and you don't have to be a wrestling fan to watch and appreciate the work that you did on that. I
Thank you.
truly, yeah, I truly believe that because it's about so much more than that.
Yeah, it's about Black history. It's about women's liberation, or they were the women who integrated wrestling weren't calling it women's liberation, but about women's roles, gender roles in society. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely about a lot more than just wrestling. Thank you for saying that.
And family.
And family, and where does a woman who's working, not only working but doing something that's really unconventional and traveling the world, how does she maintain a family?
I wonder, was it the last WrestleMania or the one before? Like one of the main events at one of the nights was Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, two black women,
Yeah,
main
yeah,
eventing WrestleMania.
yeah.
Uh, I Bianca probably. She seems to be really interested in a lot of history. I don't know about Sasha, and that's not a attack. I just don't know. I just know Bianca is, but I wonder how much those two know about the woman who paved that way.
Yeah, people, different podcasters and different
Mhm.
wrestling fans have told me that I should contact them, and I have tagged them occasionally in posts,
Mhm.
and I don't remember getting any response. It could be just because of how things are with the WWE. They have to vary, and I'm sure it's not like they have oodles of time on their hand to go around seeing who's tagging them on social media.
Mhm.
But I haven't really made the as much of an effort as I could have made to kind of reach out to them. But
Mhm.
people have suggested that I should. I just haven't really gotten around to it, I suppose.
But former AEW star Big Swole did.
Big Swole,
Mhm.
Trisha Dora, several of the wrestlers who are like on the indie circuit have reached out and given a shout out to the Trailblazers, which is cool.
Okay, so with that, I got to figure out what we're gonna do next time. It's got to be something that's not going to creep me out. I've been kicking around. How about this? The Brady Bunch Variety Hour.
Oh, I would love that. You know what I just watched,
Mhm.
because I will go into the reason why I watched it, but I just watched the miniseries of Scruples, and Robert Reed, the dad from the Brady Bunch, has a role in that. It's a
Okay.
miniseries it's like a soap opera miniseries from the early 80s with Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was interesting seeing the Brady Bunch dad playing a very different role.
Yeah, that one could be pretty interesting. So well, I think he was trying so hard to avoid being typecast, which
Right.
he couldn't avoid. But it yeah, I think it's going to be really fascinating to see that. Here you've got this whole variety thing, but the only one who was gay was the most uncomfortable doing any of it.
Yeah, he was uncomfortable with the camp stuff, but he did it anyway.
Yeah, did it anyway. Yeah, so I think okay, maybe that might be the one we'll take a look at. So with that, wherever you are, wherever you may be, stay safe, everybody.